Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Chats with Chelsi. I am excited that you're tuned in. You are here as we are chatting with women leaders across the world. Today I have a very special guest. I have a friend, former college buddy, Sasha Simmons. She is a motivational speaker. She is a podcaster. She's an AKA. She is all around an amazing woman who has a story and a journey to share. And my hopes is that as we begin on this journey as a community of talking about wholeness and being healed, that you will take away some nuggets from today's conversation with Sasha. So Sasha, welcome to Chats with Chelsi.
Hi, Chelsea. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I'm so thankful you accepted the offer. And yeah, let's just jump right in because we're kind of talking about two portions of your journey and your life today. But let's start off. Tell us just your background, where you're from, your upbringing.
So I grew up in Jacksonville, Duval County. Shout out to Duval. So that's home for me, and I lived there for nearly all of my life. I wasn't born in Jacksonville. I was born in Charleston, South Carolina, but my family relocated to Jacksonville when I was very small. So it is the place that I know as home. It is the place that I love as home, and went to college at the University of North Florida. Like Chelsea said, she and I went to school together. We came in at the exact same time.
Yeah.
And so I left and studied at NYU for a while and was blessed to travel around the world through a program called Semester at Sea, and came back to UNF, did my graduate work, and then I relocated out to Phoenix, Arizona in 2014. And I love it out here. So I am connecting with people, speaking, teaching people to create their lives, and just really kind of living in my truth as I've come to discover in my 31 years of life.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, so let's dig into there. And so UNF is where you and I met, and then you went to NYU. Tell us about this Semester at Sea program, because I studied abroad for 6 months in Belgium, and so I'm always intrigued when women, especially Black people, get out of the country. So tell us about that.
One, I think that traveling is probably the most important gift you can give to yourself.
Wow.
One of the most important gifts you can give to yourself, because you see the world through a completely different lens, and you have so many different perspectives to experience when you're traveling. But if you never do that, all you know is your world, your backyard, the people who look like you, the people who talk like you, the people who believe the same way you believe. And so in 2008, I had an opportunity to do Semester at Sea. And Semester at Sea is a college program. I get so excited when I'm talking about it. I want everyone in the world to do it. It's a program where you live on this huge cruise ship with 700 other college students from around the country.
700 college
students, yeah, from around the country. And you have teachers on there. There's a provost and everything. And you literally travel the world. Like, I circumnavigated the entire globe, crossed like at least 3 oceans. And we traveled to, I believe it was 11 countries on our trip. I always like to say the country, so let me just say that really quickly. We left from the Bahamas, Brazil, Namibia, South Africa, India, Malaysia, Vietnam, China, Japan, Hawaii, through the Panama Canal, Costa Rica, and then we came back home and docked in Miami, Florida. And
wow, that's phenomenal.
It was, Chelsea. Like, it is the thing that changed my world. And I'm sure we'll kind of get maybe a little bit more into my background. I grew up very, very reserved and just with a lot of limited experiences, just didn't know a lot of people or a lot of much of anything, and really exploring that and seeing people existing in their element, in their truth. And it just really, it's humbling more than anything. It's humbling. Like, you think you have it bad in America. You're complaining about, oh my gosh, we're out of hot sauce. Like, like, these people don't have running water. Like, why are you complaining? So it is incredibly humbling. And I try to get everybody I know to travel in some capacity, go someplace, and not just the party spot, not just to the turn up, like, go and give back, do service, like, live with these people, live life through their eyes, and you'll come back a much humbler person and really just more aware of who you are.
I mean, that's so powerful. And I mean, I can only agree. I think that you definitely beat me in terms of the number of people around you. When I lived in Belgium, there were, I think, maybe like 16 other people in the house. And I was the only non-French speaking fluent in French. But 700, Sasha, you got me beat. 700 On one ship?
On one ship. It was an experience. It was amazing. And it's amazing. What's also amazing is that you figure out a way to survive with the things that you have. Like we thought we weren't going to be able to survive without Facebook. That was a big crazy. We were like, how are we going to survive without Facebook? But you get out there. We turned a classroom into a club one night, like in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, because we had like we didn't have internet service as much. You can't get much. There's no service in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. So we really just used what we had, and we were resourceful. And to this day, it's really like a family unit. Like you can go anywhere in the world just about, and you make someone who's either sailed with you or they've done semester at sea. So it's just really it's a great family. It's a great experience.
Ladies, if you're listening and you're in college, you're in high school, study abroad, whether it's at sea, abroad, get out of the United States, because we are so into ourselves. From my experience, I didn't realize how, as a country and a culture, we were so greedy. And I don't know if I think you touched on that a little bit, Sasha, but it was just like the things that we think are like so important are sometimes not even basic for people around the world. And so,
yeah, it is, Chelsi. And you truly don't know that unless you step out and you experience that. Like I just really quickly here, I don't want to take up much time with this, but I remember being in India and I saw a little girl and literally her legs, no exaggeration, was this wide around. Oh, so much so that I thought it was fake. Like I thought her brother was holding her, but I thought like it was just a fake doll, because I was like, there's no way someone is that small. And she lifted her head and she turned her head from one side on his chest and then turned her head back. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a real human being. Yeah. So we sat them down and we were giving them food and giving them water. And the most beautiful thing, the most selfless act, this little boy, Chelsi, was 11 years old and she was 4, right? Kids, no parents. And when we gave him a banana. I specifically remember giving him a banana. And before he took a bite of anything, before he took a sip of water, he offered it to his sister first. Like that was the first thing he did. And like in America, we just really don't understand how other people are living in this world. And it's not our reality. Right. So unless you step out and you get a chance to explore, it's just not something you see. But I think that to see that really changes your perspective of the world.
So you just told us about one of the touching moments that you had when you were a semester at sea, Sasha. Tell me one of your favorite moments. You were having fun, partying, or whatever it was. But tell us about, one of your favorite moments.
So I want to tell you about probably my most overwhelming moment.
Okay. I like it.
So when I was a little girl, I always wanted to go to the Taj Mahal. I found the Taj Mahal through reading the encyclopedias when I was like 9 years old. And I imagined myself going there, but I thought, okay, I don't know how I'm ever going to get to the Taj Mahal. It's in China. I live in Jacksonville, Florida. We don't have money. Like we're living in the hood. How am I going to get there? And lo and behold, years later, I am climbing up the steps of the Great Wall of China, Chelsi. And as I climb, like step by step by step, like I'm stepping over every piece of adversity that had been in my way. I'm stepping over doubt. I'm stepping over self-hatred. I'm stepping over low self-esteem. I'm stepping over everything as I climb this journey to the Great Wall of China. And when I get there, like I'm looking over China and it's like beautiful and China is staring back at me. And I just felt strong. I felt powerful in that moment. Like there's nothing in this world that I can't do. Like there's nothing in this world that I can't accomplish, because I am that girl from the hood who was told no, who had low self-esteem, who a lot of people didn't believe in. And here I am making a dream that I had when I was 9 years old, using an encyclopedia, come to life. So for me, that was like overwhelming.
Overwhelming, but just so powerful. One of the things that I often remind myself of personally is that it's not where I started, it's where I'm going, because very similar to you, my early years were in the hood, or as I've shared with guests, I like to call it the urban core. And so, it's powerful. And I love that as you were telling that, Sasha, that it was about you and your journey. It wasn't about the fact that you were going to be able to share the story or post it somewhere. It was about you doing what was best for you. And so one of the things is that you have a podcast, 731. And so from what I know about it is that, that was how many days it took for you to go through your healing journey. Tell us about those 731 days.
Woo! Child. Those 731 days were difficult, Chelsi. They were hard. There was a lot of pain involved.
Mm-hmm.
There was me visiting places that I didn't want to visit emotionally, living through things that I didn't want to have to relive through emotionally. But that is a part of healing. And those are the things that you have to go through and you have to experience in order to heal. The reason that I believe healing is so difficult for so many people is because we don't want to experience that pain. I've already done it once. I had to live through this very traumatic experience, and I don't want to have to do that again. And so for me, going through that process, I was forgiving people who hurt me from childhood. You know, I had to let go of a lot of things. And so in that process, I learned, most importantly, about me, what I'm willing to accept, what I'm willing to do, what I like, what I don't like. And a lot of people don't know themselves. Like folks out here getting in whole relationships, having children, and you don't know yourself. Like you have no idea who you are, you know, or what the things that you like and what you don't like. And so I encourage people to go on that journey to find out who it is that you are. And I discovered who Sasha was during those 731 days and how to even forgive myself. And I'm not, it's hard to look at yourself and say, this is my flaw, you know, like you're like stripping and just standing there with yourself and looking at the reality of you. Okay. And how am I going to heal myself now? How am I going to fix me? And I talked to God a lot during those 731 days. I like to say we're BFFs.
I love it.
I had to. That was the only way to get me through it, because I think for people like you and I, we do all the things that society tell us we had to do. I went to school. I traveled abroad. I had amazing friends. I had a great job. I had all those, but I didn't feel whole. So why didn't I feel whole? And I needed to feel whole. I needed to feel like I'm existing and I have a purpose and I'm existing in that purpose. And so those 731 days taught me how to do that and how to forgive myself, how to forgive others, how to love. And that ultimately everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to experience love. And you can experience the pinnacle of love. It is very possible, but you have to get out of your own way.
What started you on that journey?
So, that's a great question. I remember coming back from Jacksonville. I was coming back from the holidays, and I was supposed to go out in Scottsdale with my friends to bring in the new year. It was the new year, and I was like, you know, something's wrong, and I don't want to go out tonight, so I canceled everything. And I was sitting there on my floor, looking up at the ceiling. I had several of these moments where I was there by myself, looking up or staring at something and crying. And I was like, I just kept asking myself, what is wrong? Like, why don't you feel like yourself? Why don't you feel whole? Why don't you feel complete? What is wrong? Like something is wrong. Mm-hmm. And the thing, Chelsi, is I didn't know that I needed healing. And I think that's the case for most people. We don't know, like we're existing and we think that we're fine. Some of us are covering it up with alcoholism. Some of us are covering it up with just getting away from not dealing with things, all sorts of things we use to detract from the fact that we really need healing. And so I had to have a real conversation with myself and say, something is wrong with me. And I asked God, I was like, what is it that I need? Like, how do I get to the next point? Like, how do I go to the next step? I have no idea, because it's a very confusing process. Like no one's laying that out for us. And so God intervened on my behalf, as I like to say, and just really kind of protected me and guided me through that process of how to heal and how to get rid of the hurt that I had been carrying since I was 4 years old.
It's so real. You know, the truth that you're speaking, that so many of us are hiding from our pain, some that are even self-inflicted. And so what would you, how did you, so God was there, God's your BFF, but how did you stay on the journey to healing? How did you not quit midway when you had to go back and relive things starting at the age 4? Because that it's hard.
Mm-hmm. And so the one thing I love about 731 is inclusive, if you will, right? So we include the times. Listen, you may actually have a low point for a week and a half or a month where you're not working on yourself. You're not working on healing. You feel like giving up, right? But you have to keep going. And so there were times where I backtracked. I messed up. I went back to things that I wasn't supposed to go back to. Like, it's all in my journal. It's really, really like gosh, man, I got stuck on this all over again. So all that it's in the 731 days. Like it was all that journey. So I have something that I teach called faux healing, because you get to a point in your healing journey where you think you're healed. Like you think you're fine because you have this day, or you have a week where you're feeling great, right? You have those highs. But healing is very much a roller coaster. It's ups, it's downs, it's a lot of lows. And I like to say it's more, I have a podcast that I released recently called More Lows Than High, because healing was more lows for me than it was highs. And so, but that's where that character is being built. And that's where your resilience is being established, and where you're building yourself up. And those low points where you're like, I don't know how I'm going to go. Like I stayed in bed for one day, like the entire day. I stayed in bed for the entire day. And you will have those low points. And so what I like to do is set the proper expectations. I don't want anybody to think that healing is just straight up. It's not. It's all over. It's weaving. It's like, it's crazy looking, but that's the healing process. And so you have to welcome it and be okay knowing that nothing's wrong with you. You're healing, and healing is very emotional. And there's a lot of different feelings that go into your healing process.
I love that. And I just love your transparency in that, because for me, one of the things that I harp on is that there is a benefit to social media, but social media can also be detrimental for some people. And because you get so caught up into someone's highlight reels that you forget that you may be seeing a glory moment, but you don't see the whole story of how they got to that glory. And just the fact of you just sharing, you know what? One of those 731 days, I was in bed all day, and that is real, and that it's okay too. Like, it's okay.
Yeah. We live in a world where we kind of create this idea that you have to be 100% all the time. And you're just not going to be 100% all the time. And that's fine. That's not, like, you can be at a 2% one day. Like, you can be your absolute ugliest self. And the thing about it is that healing is still there for you, even when you're at your worst point. Like, even when it's ugly, even when you can't even deal with yourself, healing will still be there for you. And that's going to be a part of your journey. And the reason that I'm so transparent in talking about that is because people need to know that this is what it looks like. I mean, I've met 70-year-old individuals who haven't healed. Like, they're still broken because they won't deal with it. So it's not about an age thing. It's about a process thing. It's about being true. It's about vulnerability and allowing yourself to be vulnerable and feel and exist in those feelings, whether you're at 100% one day or whether you're at 2% the other day, and understanding that it's going to be the full spectrum, those full range. But I absolutely believe that we have to create an opportunity for people to not be at their highest all the time. And social media have you thinking folks are always great, and they're not. No. Nah.
They're not. I mean, I love it. Okay, so 731. You are a motivational speaker, and I've seen several of the shots of you speaking to crowds, empowering them, motivating them. What got you on the journey to become a motivational speaker?
Yeah, so I was dating this guy, and at the same time, there's always a guy, right? And I was telling my roommate at the time, there's something that I need to be doing in my life, something I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm not doing it. And I don't know what it is, but it's something. And so God speaks to me through dreams. And I know that for a fact. And what I will tell people, it's important to know how you communicate with God, with the universe, whatever it is that you call it. I'm not here to talk about that either. Whatever. I'm not here to talk about anything in that regard. What I'm here to do is to let you know how you communicate with a being larger than yourself. And it's important to know that. And so I understand that God speaks to me through dreams. And so I was expecting to go to sleep and get a revelation about what I need to do. And I was anticipating that like every night, because I know this is what God does. And it didn't come that way that time. Ironically, the guy I was dating, his parents invited me to speak at their church about scholarships, because I was blessed to win 17 scholarships when I went to college. And they wanted me to come teach on scholarships. So I went, I created a PowerPoint presentation, and I, went to the church. And as soon as I stepped on stage, Chelsi, I kid you not, it was that moment, like, those moments of like, like it was that. And I knew that, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. So I started telling everyone who would listen to this crazy girl saying she's a motivational speaker. I had zero experience, zero knowledge, zero anything. And when I look back at my early days, ooh, we want to hide that footage. We want to hide those footage, like bury them. But I started saying it. So I started speaking it into existence, and somehow it got back to the VP at UNF. And they were looking for a student speaker to speak to 500 of their top donors, including Mr. Hicks and Mrs. Hicks were there. And they selected me. So the night of the event, I went on stage and I spoke to 500 of them. And when I got finished, Chelsi, it was a line of all these people waiting to speak to me. And I was like, OMG, what just happened? But the reality is you can speak what you want into existence. You have to do the work, but you can absolutely speak it into existence. So that's how I got started.
And so what has the journey been like what's the behind the scenes of being a speaker? I mean, it's more than just making sure your hair and makeup are good on stage. Tell us what's that behind the scenes preparation process and what the journey's been like for you.
So for me, it was great. The first year and a half, 2 years, I had a lot of opportunities and I was learning, and my skill set wasn't as sharp as they are now, but I was learning a lot of early things, and I had to learn.
Were you getting paid in the beginning?
I wasn't getting paid in the beginning. I was not. No. And I remember the first time I made my first $500 from speaking, I went in the elevator and cried. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I just made $500 doing something that I love. Like, that's the reason it was so overwhelming for me. But I wasn't getting paid. And I think you have to be okay with not getting paid, because it's the exposure and the network that you're making with people, particularly early on. The money will come as long as you're good and you have a passion, you're willing to be consistent, and the money will come. But so I wasn't getting paid in my early days. And I'll tell you, Chelsi, I stopped speaking for a while during those 731 days. Like, that's how bad it was for me. Now, let me let you know, speaking is the thing that gives me life. Like, I love speaking. Like, I never want to have to be in a place where I'm not able to do that. And I stopped speaking. And I'll tell you, like, I didn't feel like I deserved to speak during those 731 days. I didn't feel like I was good enough. And I was also struggling with, I have uterine fibroids, and I don't know if you have any familiarity with them, but a lot of Black women deal with uterine fibroid issues. And the type that I don't have any symptoms except for I have a protruding belly. Like, I look pregnant most of the time.
Okay.
And so I didn't want to be on stage. And I remember saying, God, I don't know why you would give me this gift, because I know that this is what I'm supposed to do. Like, I know I'm supposed to be an empowerment activist and speak and teach people how to create their lives. So I don't understand why you would give me this talent and then also give me this affliction, if you will, to go along with it. And so I became hard, and I was like, I'm not going to speak. I'm not going to speak until something happens. Don't know what to tell you. Sorry, not going to do it. And that all happened through those 731 days. And through those 731 days, I think one of the things that I also gained is grace. And to know that it's okay. Like, although this is my circumstance and I still have fibroids now, I know how to go through with it now. I know how to still step on the stage and still feel confident. Like, the last time, I remember the day I stopped speaking, I went on stage. It was about probably 1,500 people in the audience, or right before I was going on stage. Another panelist there, she was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were expecting. Congratulations. Right before they called my name, like, literally. And they were like, and Sasha Simmons. And I was like, my spirit was just crushed. Crushed.
Did you get a chance to respond?
I didn't get a chance to respond in that moment, because they were calling me on stage, and she was like ready to touch my stomach and everything. And I was like, I'm not pregnant. And it's hard to not be pregnant, not sure if you can get pregnant, and have someone make the assumption that you can,
Mm-hmm.
And I hid it for a long time. Like, it was something that I didn't want to talk about with anybody. I felt ashamed. I felt embarrassed. I felt inadequate. All these things that I was experiencing from having this. And my story is not an anomaly. Like, this is the story. This is a narrative for so many women. So all that to say, my journey of speaking has been up and has been down, and it has been a lot of me learning myself. But it's been rewarding. And I realize the more authentic and the more transparent I am about my challenges, about my weak moments, about my struggles, and how I overcome them, the more I'm able to truly help people who are listening to my story.
I love it. And I think that let me back up. I know that authenticity is what people need. People need the realness, they need the truth, and they need the raw, honest truth, so that they can really be able to, when they look themselves in the mirror, when they go home, when they get in their car, when they go to the bathroom, they know that they are not alone. Because that's, as you were talking about earlier about love, it's that so many people feel that they're not worthy to be loved because of X, Y, and Z. And so I love that, every time you take the stage, you're empowering people, but you're not only just empowering people with all these great words, you're empowering them with who you are, being authentic and being transparent. And I mean, I think that's soul saving for people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just wow. So, well, let's go down there. Where are you on your journey with your fibroids?
So, I do not want to have surgery.
Okay.
It's not an option that I've wanted to explore, mostly because 90% of the time they come back. So,
okay.
Yeah, in fact, I don't know any women who've had the surgery and they not come back. Like every single person I know, they always come back. So, but let me tell you, Chelsi, I scheduled the surgery because I was going to do it. And it was like 2:00 in the morning and I was up crying because I was like, I don't want to have the surgery. Like if I have the surgery, I may not ever be able to have kids, like at all. They don't know if they're going to have to do a hysterectomy ultimately. Like it's called a myomectomy is the surgery that I was going to go have.
Okay.
But ultimately they don't know. It's a 50
until they get in. Yeah.
And my fibroids are really large. So it's just, it's a very delicate situation. And so I was up at 2:00 in the morning and I was so frustrated. And I was scrolling through Instagram and my friend had tagged me in a post of a fertility coach named Jessie. And so I looked at it, like she literally tagged me around the same time that I was up. And she was in California. So she was like an hour behind me. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, well, this is interesting that she would tag me in this. And so I found her information. I sent her an email and I said, hey, I know it's the weekend and you're probably not going to reach out. Like I have surgery scheduled for tomorrow. And I'm going to do it because I'm just tired of having to deal with fibroids. Like I just don't want to deal with it anymore. And literally I woke up the next morning and I had an email from her. She's like, cancel your surgery. Don't go. Like we have a solution. And so, she had been working with doctors and they've created a very aggressive program that works 100%. It works provided that you're able to stick to it. So you have to have plant-based diet. You have to do exercises. You have to take like the natural herbs and everything. But I started it and I was sticking to it for like 120 days and I saw significant results. And then I went on a cruise and I was doing what I was Let me just keep it 100% real with you guys. But like, you have to be in a place mentally where you're ready for that shift and where you're ready for that change. And I wasn't ready for that change like long term, but I saw the significant result of my body. And so I'm on that journey again and I'm seeing results again. So I've been sticking to it and I'm very excited to see the shrinkage happen and to see my body getting rid of it naturally on its own. Because what happened is fibroids are caused by estrogen dominance. So you have super high levels of estrogen in your body. Okay. And in order to get rid of that, you have to remove the estrogen away from it. Well, removing the fibroid doesn't remove the estrogen. You still have that estrogen dominance, which is why when you have the surgery, 9 times they come back. So what they preach and what they teach is to remove the estrogen dominance. And so it's called Hope Beyond Fibroids is the name of the program. And it's grown. And my doctor actually told me that I was patient number 1. Like she created that program as a result of my story. And I had no idea.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, but there's tons of women doing the program now. They've been on the Breakfast Club several times talking about it. It 100% works, but you have to be willing to put in the work, which is hard.
So when you say plant-based, are you eliminating all meats?
No animal product, period.
Because I love a good steak. I need some lobster. Every now and then I need some Chick-fil-A.
Me too.
So when people say plant-based, I'm like, oh, I'll eat more plant-based stuff, but I'm still going to have my meat. So I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, plant-based means no animal product. And I mean, it's not even like vegan. Like, it's not like you can't do fried potato chips and all. It has to be clean. And there are even some vegetables that I can't eat because it's estrogen. It's estrogenic. So it's a very rigorous program, but it works.
Well, I am on a serious note. I probably should stop incorporating plant-based when I talk about my diet because I still like meat. But It's so great that you reached out to your friend in California tagged you, and then that you reached out to her and that she responded and then created this program that now is helping women across the country. And so, I mean, that is amazing. And I'm grateful that you were able to stick to what you really wanted, which was to not have surgery and be able to find relief for the fibroids. And so any lady out there dealing with fibroids, I encourage you to look into the program. So we have talked about 731. We have talked about speaking. We've talked about fibroids. One of the things I remember, and you're going to help me because I did not look it up again before our chat, was there was a post sometime last year that you made about dark-skinned Black women.
Oh.
And I just remember like thousands of views, tons of comments. Tell us about that, because you are a beautiful dark-skinned Black woman, but you made a post about that.
Yeah, thank you, Chelsi. So all my life I had to fight. No, I'm kidding. But I've been dealing with colorism, experiencing, I guess, negative vibes via colorism for all of my life, right?
And is that in the Black community only, or both?
In the Black community, and more so, specifically Black men.
Okay.
Specifically, that's like the number. That's like the number one offender. If I had to give a title to it, would be the number one offender. And I was just going on a rant, and the reason that I even made that video is because I went into a store and a guy was standing outside of the store. He was like, "Damn, girl, you fine for a dark skinned girl. I don't even like dark skinned women, but you're real fine." And I was like, "Bro,
hold up,
really? Like, is this what we're really doing?" And so I went in my car and I made that video, and I was like, I'm not going to bleach my skin. Like, I'm not bleaching my skin. I'm not going to change anything about it. It took me years to learn to love it, because I didn't for a long time, because I was told by society, by the people I went to school with, by church folks, that my dark skin was a problem and that it was not beautiful and that I couldn't wear certain colors because of my dark skin. And I believed it for a long time. And I think this is a narrative for a lot of dark complexion Black women. Like, this is a struggle, and not just Black women, dark complexion people around the world. Because I'll have you know, every place that has experienced colonialism suffers from colorism. Bottom line, like, it's a byproduct of colonialism. It absolutely is. And China and in India, it's huge in India. Like, all over the world, you'll see these things. So it's just been really hard going through these challenges with colorism, but it's definitely something that needs a voice and something that people have to realize. You're responding to this because you've been programmed to believe to be a certain complexion is more superior because it's closer to whiteness. Like, that's where that comes from. That's the reason why. And I just went on my rant and I was like, no, I'm not here for it. Like, you're not going to try to make me hate myself because of my complexion. It worked when I was a young child, when I wasn't whole, when I didn't know who I was. It worked, but it's not going to work at this point in my life.
So what would you say out there to other dark complexion women who face the struggle?
Mm-hmm. I will say that I understand your struggle, and learning to love your complexion may be challenging for you. But one of the things that I did was look at myself every day in the mirror and love it and say, you're beautiful. Say those words out loud. So one of the things I teach in 731 is something called the mirror trigger. And I believe in talking to yourself in the mirror. I'm crazy. I talk to myself all the time and I like it. Okay. So I tell people, talk to yourself in the mirror. So for dark complexion women who may be having those challenges, talk to yourself in the mirror. Look at you. Look at what God created in all of its glory. Because yes, it is fabulous.
Yes.
So look at yourself and love it and say it in the mirror. I am beautiful. I am fabulous. I love myself. I love my skin. Because what you hear over and over is what you start to believe. Mm-hmm. It's all programming. And sometimes we don't recognize it. And surround yourself with people who celebrate you, celebrate what it is. And a lot of people are like, oh, you need to stop hanging out with those people who say those things about you. I'm not hanging out with those people. It's random people that I don't know. It's the person standing outside of the store. It's the person at the grocery store, or at the gas station. Like, it's not people that I'm associating myself with.
Right.
For the most part.
Well, listen, ladies, you heard it from Sasha Simmons herself. Like, Use the mirror. Talk
Yeah.
to yourself. It's so funny because this morning I was having a conversation with John, and then I finished that conversation, and then I just started talking to myself because I'm so used to talking to myself. And Sasha, when I finished, she says, knowing he already knows the answer, but he says, so do you just always just like talk to yourself like that? I was like, yeah, I've been doing it since I had an imaginary friend. Purpose of me sharing the story is that talking to yourself has some power, right? Because, you know, as you're talking about this programming, it's like, okay, some things you just need to talk out with yourself to make sure to know what's really on the inside of you, right? Because what I've learned is that when I'm talking to myself, there's really not a filter. I'm just saying what's ever on my mind. And so it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I felt that way, or that's what I was thinking, or so yeah, I definitely support people talking to themselves. I think it would help a lot of people before they went to social media and went in public. But
hallelujah.
but we're not gonna go there today. Sasha, as we are closing out, I mean, I'm so grateful for you coming on and just being so transparent and open. What would you say to the young lady who believes and feels that same thing you feel when you walk into a stage, that they are called to inspire, empower, and educate other people via a public stage?
Mm-hmm. I love this question, Chelsi. I absolutely love it because I asked myself that same exact question. And there's a few things I want to say. And the first is that energy doesn't lie. That energy that you feel internally, like that's something telling you that you're on the right track, okay? Intuition will be your best guide because God gave you intuition for a reason. A lot of people don't pay attention to it. We don't like to listen to it, but you have that intuition and this thing is pulling you for a very specific reason. And the final thing that I'll add is as you navigate this space and try to figure out who you are, you're going to talk to people, you know, and they may be elders that you're going to try to get bits of wisdom from. And that is fine. But what I will tell you in addition to that is I remember going on my journey, I was getting conflicting information from God and from the people that I had been asking information about. And my message to women who are looking and trying to figure it out is to listen to yourself and listen to what God is telling you. The message was given to you. It may not have been given to Mother Mabel, so she may be giving you a completely different message. The message was given to you. So while she is amazing and she is fabulous and she has all this experience, what is God telling you to do? What is your soul telling you to do? What is that energy that you feel in your being telling you to do? We have to listen to ourselves. And I think too often we don't do that. So please listen to yourself and listen to what God is telling you. All the other stuff is sometimes just noise and distraction.
Touche. So what is yours? Like, how do you get motivated? Is it through reading books? Is it through music? Is it through listening to other podcasts? Let us in on some of Sasha's favorites.
Yes. So every morning I listen to a YouTube channel. There's tons of YouTube channel with motivational talks on them. You can just go to YouTube and hit play and it'll play anything you want. Just listen to whatever comes first and you'll start to see what you like and what you don't like. So that's one thing that I do. I also meditate. And so meditation for me is very grounding and it just kind of allow me to center. And I tell folks all the time, I will disappear in the middle of the day and nobody will be able to find Sasha. I will be somewhere in a corner, quiet, silence, because I realize that when I silence things, I'm able to center and I'm able to get like the message from the creator that I'm trying to relate to people. So that's definitely what I do to use inspiration. Books definitely inspire me, but those videos and listening to YouTube and meditating, those are my two key go-tos.
Nice. Okay. Ladies, we've heard something new this from Sasha. Meditation, quiet time. So that is so great. Sasha, how can ladies contact you?
Yes, you can find me across all social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Snap, anything at the Sasha Simmons. The Sasha Simmons, just the Sasha Simmons, TheSashaSimmons. And I imagine you'll probably include that as well in the information. So the Sasha Simmons, Twitter, everywhere. You can find me there. And just link up with me. Shoot me an email. You can shoot me an email at info@731.co, info731.co, just to reach out to me. I'm always here. And I'm more than happy to chat, to connect, to direct you to my podcast. It's on Google Play. It's on Apple as well. And then it's on my website, which is 731.co.
Sasha, thank you for joining Chats with Chelsi today. I am so grateful that you were able to come on and share your story.
Thank you for what you're doing. It's amazing.
I appreciate it. Well, ladies, you heard it from Sasha herself, the importance of healing, being motivated by other people. You've heard the benefits of meditation and what it takes to be real with yourself and go through a healing journey. So do that, do the hard work so that you can truly be whole for whatever it is that God has called you to do. Thank you so much for joining, and I look forward to seeing you for the next episode.